Hey, you know what that means. It's time to bake. Are you ready? Did you wash your hands? I did. Do you have your grown-up? We're all set. Let me tell you what we're gonna make today. I have a little buddy at the library and she loves chocolate mint cookies. So I thought that's what we would make today. Now this recipe is not hard at all, but it does have a number of steps, so you want to give yourself time to make them. Let me show you the ingredients that we're going to need. You're going to need 3/4 of a cup of butter that's at room temperature, 1 cup of sugar, 1 egg at room temperature, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract. You're also going to need 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and for our chocolate coating for the cookies, you're going to need 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract, 14 ounces of chocolate that you can melt. I have here just the Nestle baking chips that I had in my cupboard. 14 ounces equals about 2¼ cups. If you don't own a kitchen scale in your house, you really should invest in one. They're pretty cheap and they come in handy all the time. And you're also going to need about 3 teaspoons of canola oil or vegetable oil to mix in with the chocolate. This helps make the chocolate easier to dip. So the first thing we're going to do is sift some of our dry ingredients together. So I'm going to take my flour, my cocoa powder, the baking powder, and the salt. And I'm gonna sift these all together. After it's all sifted, I'm going to put it to the side while I mix up my other ingredients. With your hand mixer or your stand mixer, you're gonna whip up the butter first. So you wanna do this for about 1 minute. After that's whipped for about a minute, I'm gonna add my sugar and whip it for another minute. This has been whipping for about a minute. It's nice and light yellow. Now I'm going to add my vanilla extract, my peppermint extract, and 1 egg. I'm going to mix this till it's all combined, and make sure you're scraping down the bowl so everything gets mixed together. It's time to add in all the dry ingredients that we sifted together. So you want to start it off on a low speed so it doesn't all blow back onto you. And once it's just combined, we're done mixing. We don't want to over-mix. Now that it's all mixed together, I put it on a piece of parchment paper. Have I convinced you to buy parchment paper yet? I hope so. We're going to put it on another sheet on top of it and roll the dough out till it's about 1/4 inch thick. I have my rolling pin and I'm ready to go. So this dough is thick to roll out. You might need some elbow grease to get it to about 1/4 inch thick. Now that I've rolled it to about 1/4 inch thick, I'm going to transfer it to a baking sheet with the parchment paper. I'm going to let it chill in the refrigerator for a minimum of 1 hour. I'll see you soon. So I actually got a little busy and the dough has been chilling for about 1.5 hours. No worries. I'm going to take off the top layer of the parchment paper. I have my oven preheating to 350 degrees and it's time to cut out all the cookies. I have here a little cookie cutter. Maybe you have a biscuit cutter. I want about a 1½ inch size cutter. I think that really makes the perfect size cookie for this recipe. We're going to cut out the cookies and we're going to keep re-rolling the dough until we've used it all up. I have my 2 cookie sheets with my parchment paper. These cookies don't spread, so you don't have to worry about putting them really far apart. I have 1 tray of cookies already prepared and they're ready to go in the oven. I'm going to place them in the oven for about 7 to 9 minutes. They're still going to be soft in the middle when they're done. The cookies are out of the oven. I'm just going to let them sit for a few minutes on the pan till they set up, and then I'm going to transfer them to a wire rack to cool completely. When you take the cookies off the pan, be sure to save your parchment paper because we're going to use that for the chocolate dipping step. The cookies have completely cooled and it's time to melt the chocolate for dipping. I have my 14 ounces of chocolate that I'm going to put into a double boiler. If you've never used a double boiler before, they're really helpful. You put water in the bottom pan. The top pan is solid. That's where I'm going to put my chips. And I'm going to put it on the stove. The steam from the water will actually melt the chocolate nice and low. If you don't have a double boiler, you can melt your chocolate in the microwave. Just be careful not to burn it. The chocolate is really starting to melt, so I'm going to add my 3 teaspoons of oil. The chocolate is all melted, so I took it off the heat and I'm going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of peppermint extract. And we're going to mix that all together. Smells really minty. Now that the peppermint is all mixed in, it's time to dunk the cookies. This is the most fun part. Remember that baking sheet with the parchment paper that we baked our cookies on? Well, it's back. I found the easiest way to dunk your cookies is to flip them into the chocolate top side first. Then you're going to flip them over onto the fork and just bang the fork onto the side of your pan to get all the extra chocolate off. Once it's off, put it back onto your cookie sheet. And you're going to do this for all the cookies. So this is a great job, kids, for you to help out. So I have 1 tray of cookies all dunked in the chocolate. I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes, a half hour, just till the chocolate really sets up cold. So I completed my 3 trays of cookies and I have just a little bit of chocolate left over. And what I did was I took the first tray that I put in the refrigerator, they're pretty cold now, and I'm just going to drizzle the last of the chocolate over them to make a pretty design. I drizzled the chocolate and I was thinking how nice it would be if you had different colored chocolates at home. When everything opens up, Michael sells those melting wafers, so for Christmas, you could do Christmas colors, Hanukkah, you could drizzle Hanukkah colors or Valentine's Day, and you'd really have a very pretty cookie to give as a gift to somebody. The cookies are all done. They've been sitting in the refrigerator for the chocolate to set. They're chocolatey and minty and delicious. They did take a couple of hours to make, but that's okay. If you have lots of hands to help you, it'll make it go quicker. And they do make such a pretty looking cookie. I do recommend that you keep them in the refrigerator so the chocolate stays cold, especially on a warm day or if your house is particularly warm, the chocolate won't melt. Well, I hope you make these, and if you do, be sure to post a picture in the comments. I'll see you next time. See you soon, Raccoon. Bye.